I'm looking forward to this tonight, Rocky, because you've regaled me with stories all day from the Congress. Do you remember the first year you showed back here in the Futurity?
1978.
1978. That's going back a few years. Do you remember the horse?
Doubtful Blues. That was 10th.
All right. Well, things have changed a little bit here. We're in the Celeste Center. It's a much larger pen than what you showed in back in the 70s.
Yes, it is. It's twice the size of the pen back there.
And Congress was always known to have great ground. Like reining got its start here, and they really perfected stopping ground. And as the sport's changed, the ground itself has changed. But it looks like great conditions tonight.
It looks really good.
We're ready to resume now with draw number 21, Tom McCutchen with Jules.
A lot of see those horses, and nobody pushed really hard in the level 3, but you see those horses getting a good bit of grip in it in the circles. That's always the other thing you look for, is
Deary's on deck, Kade McCutchen in the hole.
Yes,
their way around.
It doesn't look slippery. It looks like you could go pretty hard and not worry about falling out of the lead or anything.
Here's our first gunner of the night. It's a Chick Shine stallion owned by White River Ag Products and shown by Tom McCutchen. Tom is always a guy that looks completely comfortable when he's showing a horse. If he's stressed, you'd never know it by watching him.
That's for sure.
We'll be running NRHA Pattern 5 tonight. And Rocky, you indicated earlier you think Pattern 5 is probably the best finals pattern.
I like it for a 3-year-old. You get to start, you walk to the middle of the pen, you get to start and stop. They get a little breather in between. Mm-hmm. And I just think it works for longevity.
It does, and it's a pattern that builds. It's not like 9 or 10 that we see in the finals so often where you ask those horses to go right to max reps right off the bat.
Right off the bat, and they don't get a chance to get a breather once they start their circles.
That's a great point. And Tom's a guy that's always able to be aggressive in his circles. Probably would have liked Jules Hotshine to come back to him a little better, but he settled in nicely to that small, slow circle.
Yes, he did.
Our judges tonight, Mr. Terry Thompson, Ann Salmon Anderman, Van Loose, Donnie Bricker, and the other one.
Nice set of turns there.
Very nice set of turns. Our other judge is Rick Weaver. Boy, these Chick Shines are really attractive horses. Most of them have that same Palomino color he had. But Tom's a big guy, and he does not look too big on this horse.
No, he doesn't. Horse kind of pulled a little bit through the middle, but not bad.
Rocky, this time of year, this was used at one point in the NRHA. This was the end of the year.
Yes.
This is the culmination for those 3-year-olds. On most of your 3-year-olds, did you have a pretty good idea about where the limit was by this time of year? How much you could get?
Oh, yeah. It was just like going to the Futurity in December. This was the end. You prepared them for here, and this was the end of it. And now, you went on to the next. Got turned really good there.
Yeah, so far he has stayed, for the most part, I believe, penalty-free and gotten quite a bit done. So we'll see. It's our first level 4 horse, so we don't really have a benchmark. He'll be the leader, provided he stays on pattern following this run, but we'll see if he puts up a big enough score to hold it. Really pretty through the middle. I like how he accelerated through that lead change. You'll see some of those horses, accelerate's probably the not word, but they'll kind of hiccup a little bit. They'll lose forward.
Right.
That horse really flowed through it, especially that first one left to right, but both really clean, accurate figure 8. And this is where I think Tom's a really strong rider. We talked about it a little bit before the webcast started. How good he is at getting those horses down the pen to his stops.
I like to see a horse come around the corner and straighten up like he did there and run to his stop.
Commit.
Yes. Like that.
Yeah, that was Probably his best maneuver so far.
Yeah.
Very nice. And finished it off with a really good rollback, which I'm always going to say is a bit of a lost art.
Yes.
You know, if that's the one place I feel like these riders can really improve, and not this particular group of riders, but competitors in general, you're going to see somebody try and raise the bar in that rollback at some point.
Didn't stay committed on that last stop. The better the horse runs down to your stop, the better line you have, the better they're going to stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. It's
coming in now, draw number 22, Casey Deary with Gonna Be Fantastic, owned by Donald Deeser. Kade McCutchen's on deck. Patricia Tillman in the hole.
Starting out with a strong crew here today.
The new score to beat, 218 on that ride, 218 and 1/2. 218 and a half for Tom McCutchen, the new score to beat. Coming in now, draw number 22, number 3422, Casey Deary, with Gonna Be Fantastic, owned by Donald Deeser. Kade McCutchen's on deck.
It's interesting because Casey's shown both sire and dam of this one. He's one of the in-like Flens that we like so well, and out of the good mare Aren't Gonna Mark Ya, that he and several riders in his barn had a lot of success on.
It kind of looks like its mother too.
Mm-hmm. Casey's putting the miles on his truck this year. I saw him at the Run for a Million just a week or two ago. It seems like they're all starting to blur together a little bit. But,
Yeah.
It's a little bit different challenge nowadays than in the 70s and 80s when the horse shows were more spotty. Now you got to find time to get to them all.
And they're week-long horse shows now.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Casey's getting along really good here.
I showed a little bit of greenness there in that small, slow circle, which, you know, they're 3-year-olds, and I always think it's amazing how much they'll change between now and the first weekend December.
Yes. That was really cool. Started good. The cadence was good the whole time. Stopped right on center.
And I like the way Casey's horses carry themselves in the circle. Something else we touched on a little bit before the broadcast, and you brought it out. He gives those horses a chance to get comfortable and carry themselves. They're not rider dependent.
Very natural looking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good top lines. They're always good underneath.
Very good slowdown.
Yeah, much better small, slow circle this way. And Rocky, and you know, you've got a good 3-year-old now. You're at the Congress, you're in the finals. You obviously want to do as well as you can, but how much are you trying to win this class balanced against, I got bigger horse shows coming in the next month or so, you know, with the NRHA Futurity looming and what it pays now. You know, how do you approach showing in a finals like this?
I mean, you want to get as much out of them without blowing their doors off.
Right.
I mean, you've got a month and a half, 2 months, probably about 2 months now, to a lot bigger horse show than this. You want to get a paycheck here, but you don't want to run their wheels off of them and blow their minds at this stage of the game.
So when you're schooling at home, do you just try and figure out what that horse is able to do comfortably mentally and then kind of go with that when you're showing it, or you play it more by ear when you get here?
Yeah, kind of both.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at home you're preparing that horse and you're seeing how fast you can go and that horse stays comfortable. And when you get here, sometimes they're going to get better, sometimes they're going to get worse.
The ones that get better are called show horses.
Exactly. This pen's a little tough to show in too because all the spectators are on the one side, and it's a little scary to show in here for some horses. That was cool.
But Casey had to save the trot out of the rollback, which he did there, but it made the rollback a little rough. I don't think they're going to downgrade the maneuver for that because the approach to the stop and the stop itself really good. Just over-rotated a little bit on the rollback. That's not uncommon for a 3-year-old, is it?
No, not at all. Horse wasn't as clean running to that stop. You could tell like he was having a little trouble getting her straightened out, and that's why she had a little bit of trouble stopping on that side.
That's a good point. And there he had to go to her mouth just to kind of help her a little bit, and so it wasn't as smooth as she went just off signal down this long side.
Right.
We got a good start and a really good rundown started here.
Much better stop.
Coming in next, draw number 23, number 4284, Kade McCutchen with Custom Night, owned by Freddie Brassfield of Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Patricia Tillman's on deck, Peter Freitas in the hole.
Well, we'll get that score for Casey Deary apparently after the ride for Kade McCutchen. But here's a royally bred one. If you like the McCutchen breeding program, here's a Gunner Special Night out of the Great Mare Custom Made Done It. What a producer she's been.
Is that the mother of Cage?
Run for a Million winner, yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And a very high seller last week at the Legacy sale.
Oh, is that right?
Yes. Great to see Kade and his dad draw up just one horse apart.
It's funny how that works.
We had a chance to visit with Tom and Kade earlier, and it was funny to hear you and Tom and I talk about how things used to be at the Congress. And then Cade's like, well, I'm 22. It doesn't seem that much difference to me.
It's because he's not been around long enough yet.
Right.
But that was pretty.
Yeah, he's got such a tremendous feel for these horses. And how much of an advantage do you think it is, Rocky, that he has such familiarity with the family?
You know, he's never probably ridden a bad horse in his life.
Right. That's a great point.
I mean, he's always had really good horses to ride, and he knows what a good one's supposed to feel like. And he's got good genes. I mean, they're all horse trainers, horse showmen.
Sure.
I mean, his sister's killing it in the jumper world right now.
Yeah, Carly already a Grand Prix winner. But it's been so much fun as a judge anyway to see Kade mature as a competitor. I remember judging him when he was in the short stirrup division.
Not that long ago.
Yeah, and worked his way all the way up, non-pro Futurity champion, and turned pro at 18 and just had probably as good a year as any NRHA competitors ever had at 19, tying to win the Run for a Million, NRHA Futurity Open title.
First and second.
Yeah.
You dream of those dreams.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting along so good so far.
I like that turn. That horse turned just like swinging a gate. You know you'll see faster, but it was very cadenced, very correct, and as you pointed out, the beginning and the end, very correct.
Nice lead change. Horses stand right between the bridle reins the whole time.
Yeah, and here again, this is a rider I think that does a great job of allowing those horses to get comfortable in the circles. All they got to worry about is standing up between the bridle reins, right?
Yes.
You know, there's not a lot of that other stuff going on.
That's easier said than done, though. Little trouble getting to that stop.
You think he was just a little hesitant in the rundown, Rock, or what do you think? Led to that? And here again, was not a bad maneuver.
No, it wasn't a bad maneuver, but the horse just wasn't free as he should have been getting there. Much better there.
Yeah.
You can tell the difference in the stop.
Yeah, that momentum really carried him into what looked like a lot more permitted stop there. He stayed in the ground on the first stop, but
wasn't as pretty.
Sure.
Not that it was a bad stop, it just wasn't as pretty.
Right.
There's the difference. He got to that stop better also.
And I'm sure when you're showing 3-year-olds, first big show you take them to,
Score
you learn so
218
much
and a
about
half
them.
on the previous
you
ride
discover
for
things like that.
Casey
Well, I got to
Deary.
free him up down the
218
side.
and a half on the previous ride. Tied for the high score so far.
Was that Casey marked 18 and a half? So
Yes, he and Tom McCutchen currently tied atop the leaderboard.
Coming in next, draw number 24, number 9844. This Girl's on Fire. Ridden by Patricia Tillman and owned by Michael Riley of Dickerson, Maryland.
We have the youngest competitor in the level
219 and a half on that ride. The new score to beat, 219 and 1/2 for Kade McCutchen.
Are you sure? Her and Kate might
Peter
be
DeFreitas will be on deck.
I didn't think about
we
that.
drag. Matt Palmer will be up
might be a little
first
lower than
after
Cody.
the drag.
She does a great job, rides out of Bob Laporta's farm there, Summer Wind Farm in Damascus, Maryland. Am I right?
Yes. Got a good business going up there, she does.
I've managed to meet her through a couple of horse sales. She's brought non-pros out and matched them up with horses at our place. Love the way she works with the non-pro riders. She's got a really good gift for teaching as well as teaching the horses.
Works very hard at it and does a good job. That was pretty nice.
Yeah, this Girl's on Fire. Looks like she does not want to leave. You could see her really wanting to tighten up to Tricia just coming into the center of that circle. Maybe if I'm a judge, I nick her a little bit for an early slowdown, but that's really being nitpicky. And to me, I'm complimenting the horse because you want those that are always drawing back to you.
Leaned in a little bit in her circles, but wasn't falling in. A little bit of an overturn.
Yeah, a little half-point penalty there, and that
turn was good though.
Now, Rocky, you've seen it change. From we circle, we want the horse's nose slightly to the inside. See a lot of straight horses, a lot of horses like this one even kind of cocked to the outside. It's hard for me to get around the slightly bent to the outside, but it seems to be more and more what you see. What's going on with that? How's that work? What are they doing there?
They're actually just letting the horse be more natural. If you watch a horse run out in the field, they're going to have their head outside and their shoulders going to be laying down in the direction they're going to. It's just what's more natural. We took and bend them to the inside and put their nose to the inside, and that's really not what's natural for them.
Well, I see a lot of top competitors have gone to that. To me, it makes it easier to get that horse slowed down in the middle. A lot less chance of a break of gait because you don't have as many moving parts or a fall out of lead behind. And then, to me, they're in position to change leads when they come across through there like that already. So
much easier.
Yeah. So it makes sense. It's just for a bit of a traditionalist like me, it's just a change. And I have a lot of people ask me about that. What about these horses look to the outside in their circles? Isn't that wrong? And I don't think it's wrong. It's just
if they're looking to the outside but staying on the circle, I think it's fine.
Okay.
It's if they're looking to the outside and falling in, then it's not good.
And that's a terrible feeling too, isn't it? When you're showing one. I remember I had one do that to me, and I asked Tom McCutchen, this was 20, 25 years ago, what do you do when they start doing that? He's like, there's nothing you can do. You go to the next horse show. You see when you got a good shot of that horse, already laid down to the inside and kind of looking into that new circle. So all she had to do was that outside leg.
Yep.
And lead change was there. We'll see it here. Same thing. Just seamless. I'm coming around on it.
Yes. It's hard to get used to it. It's hard to ride them that way. It just feels like it's not normal. That was cute.
Yeah, that's trusting a 3-year-old right there. Never lifted her hand off the neck. But you kind of get that indication the way that mare circled.
Yes. She has not thought about anything except what Tricia's asked her to do.
Yeah, she's been really, really good.
Thought she could have run down a little bit further.
Nice save on the rollback there. Looked like she was going to get a little out of sorts there, but that mare showed how quick-footed she is. When Tricia laid that rein, she really came back.
Yes.
Well, that's about as pretty as you can plus half stop right there.
Right.
A little trouble in the backup. That's going to be reflected in the judges' scores, but what a nice run.
Yes. She never picked her hand up the whole pattern.
It's pretty advanced work for a 3-year-old in October.
Yes.
It's an indication, like you said, that she works at it.
Coming in next, drawn number 25, number 3072, Peter Freitas. And Just Like You, owned by Whitney Lipscomb of Whitesboro, Texas. We'll drag after this ride, then be ready for Matt Palmer and Brian Bell. Score 213 on that ride, 213.
Pete DeFreitas on our second in-like Flynn here in the level 4 finals. Out of the first 5, already 2, and a number of them in the level 3. I know that's great news for the in-like Flynn connections. I think Pete's one of those guys, when he gets that special horse, he's going to win one of these majors.
Yes.
He's right there knocking on the door all the time. Horses consistently look well schooled.
And he just moved from North Carolina to Texas, and I'm sure that's probably not the easiest chore to do. I mean, it's been a year ago now, but still got growing pains with it, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is something I did not know.
Mm-hmm. Right after the Futurity last year, he moved to Texas.
All right. North Texas, I'm assuming. He's not out in El Paso.
No, he's in North Texas.
Laredo. He's in the hub. Pretty snappy set of turns right there.
Yeah, it was.
Once again, Pete's doing a good job of letting Just Like You find its own comfort zone in these circles.
Horse pulled a little bit across the middle there, but went when he asked it to.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's natural, though. The horses, they're down there on that end of the arena with a herd of horses in the warm-up, which is inside the Celeste Center here.
Right.
They are herd animals. They're going to be magnetized toward that gate.
Half-turn penalty there.
Mm-hmm. Rocky, one of the things we were talking about before the broadcast that I'm interested in is, since the 1970s till now, what do you think has been the biggest change in the way we show these reiners? Is it the hesitation between maneuvers now? Just the way the runs flow? Obviously, the maneuvers are different now than they were then, but where do you see the biggest change?
The refinement.
Mm-hmm.
The lead departures, the turnarounds. I mean, we used to trot into a lead departure. They didn't think anything about it.
Right.
I mean, but now, I mean, you trot anywhere and it's a penalty. You get your turnaround started if you're over or under. I mean, that was a thing always. It was not a big penalty then.
And when do you remember when you switched from we're going to turn with no hesitation to, I mean, obviously when the rule book changed, but it was more a change of style that you saw guys, they'll snap off 4 to the left, and you didn't even see that horse stop. They'd go back to the right.
Right. Don't really remember when that took place. That evolution came around, but it was a while ago.
I'm going to say mid-'80s was about the last time
Probably.
I remember really seeing people would just.
And probably who started that more than anybody was probably Craig Johnson.
Really?
I think he's probably the one that brought that about. Because I think back about him showing one, and he would hesitate there a little bit before he got started. And
I believe Craig won this Futurity when it was the Futurity in '85. Am I wrong?
no, it was back about then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the Great Sparkles Rosanna, and of course he won it on Lucky Baglow.
Lucky
here,
Baglow
too.
was the first
Yeah,
one.
that was '83.
Yes. And then 2 years later, he won it on Sparkles Rosanna.
Right. I remember that Futurity. I bought that tape from Walton Berry after I watched it, and I bet I watched that 100 times. I remember Mike Flair catch rode one, and Tim McQuay catch rode one for Larry Rose. Who was
Time to
injured that
drag,
year.
and after the drag, we'll be ready for Matt Palmer with Brian Bell on deck.
All right, well, we'll take our second drag break, and we'll come
Score
back with our next set
216
of
on that
horses.
ride, 216.
We are back 10 horses through the Level 4 finals of the All-American Quarter Horse Congress Reining Futurity. I'm Steve Ross, along with my broadcast partner, Rocky Dare.
We've only been through 5.
Yeah, what did I say, 10? 5 or 10? I got excited. Only 25 here in the finals. We're going to see Matt Palmer first. On Custom Jeweler, it's a Paleface Dunnett, and then Brian Bell on Little Joe Cash out of Sea Miss Hollywood, one of those mares that doesn't really seem to matter what you breed her to. She'll make you a reining horse.
One of Matt Palmer's is a big, pretty horse, too. I've seen him ride him up there.
And we're ready to resume now with draw number 26. Matt Palmer with Custom Jeweler, owned by Brian Novello and Mark Hurd. This is number 9929. Brian Bell will be on deck. Brandon Brandt in the hole.
You know, we got a little run of riders here, too, coming up in this set that don't tend to get cheated. And I'm excited about that. You know, everybody's still, I feel like, maybe playing a little bit of defense with these 3-year-olds, not wanting to overuse their horses, but oh, what a pretty horse. You're right, Rocky.
Isn't he a big, stout, pretty thing? I've seen you ride him around a little bit. He's a pretty nice horse, too. Hopefully you can get him showed here tonight.
It's a little redundant to say a pale-faced Dunnett is a big stopper, because I haven't seen one yet that isn't.
Looking really good so far.
All right, here's another question. It's 1979. Did the horses run harder in their circles than they do now?
The large, fast circles were about as big as a small, slow circle.
Right.
Maybe not the same speed, but the circles weren't very big back then.
Yeah, that's something when you go back and watch old videos, you realize how much more riders use the arena now.
Yes.
Now, was that ever a decision you made consciously? All right, I'm going to spread out these circles a little bit, or did it just kind of gradually morph into that?
No, that was Brent Stone on Boomernick.
Boomernick.
He's the one that started riding the wall. Because back in the early 70s and 80s, it was a thing you didn't ride the walls.
Right.
I mean, if you rode the walls, they were going to knock you down because horse wasn't steering.
That's interesting.
That's going way back.
That's true, though.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
And that really, Brett Stone and Boomer didn't get a lot of credit, but that period in the early 90s really kind of changed the sport.
Right.
We had a lot of innovation at that time, some West Coast influence that the sport hadn't had before with, of course, Bob Avila and that great team of assistants he had then, John Slack, Todd Bergen, Tom St. Hilaire. I mean, that list goes on and on.
well, I'll tell you how small the circles were. They used to leave the tractor and drag in the corner of the arena.
Yeah, I do remember that. I remember Bill Horn and I'm Not Trash looking like she had it won, and then Spook from the tractor and drag. That was in '85.
Yes.
Remember, I watched that tape a lot.
And then when I did the show with the McCutchens, they said that they were the ones that took the drag out of the arena at the Derby.
That was their call, huh?
Yes. Well, that was pretty
beautiful. Yeah.
That's getting along really good here.
Yeah, and it's great that he's the first horse after the drag, because even from our vantage point, you can't see it on the screen. Those circles and turns are laid down as symmetrically as you can have it done. I mean, it really looks like it's been put out there with a cookie cutter.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's following that path in his figure eight that he did in the large fast.
And the funny part about it is that's something that you don't think about.
No.
That's just where you ride.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that was almost perfect position across the middle there, don't you think?
Very good, yes.
And we talked about that. And watching the level 3, you pointed out that a number of horses come in there slightly out of position. We haven't seen any of that in the level 4. Those horses are. That horse, you can tell he has a lot of stop, but I go back to what you mentioned about one of the horses earlier. Sometimes these babies, Rocky, are they just a little tentative to run down the arena because it's a strange environment and they're not as seasoned yet?
I don't know whether it's not seasoned or the environment or preparation, but it's 3-year-olds.
Oh.
And there's a prime example of a 3-year-old.
Right. And Custom Jeweler looks to be okay. Not sure what happened there. I'm sure there'll be plenty of speculation online.
Oh, yeah.
How about another hand again for Matt Palmer on Custom Jeweler?
And I won't speculate on why that horse laid down, but I can tell you this is a healthy, happy, sound horse. We've seen him. Sometimes 3-year-olds just do crazy things.
They do the craziest things, especially when the money's on the line.
Mm-hmm. That's a long walk for Matt Palmer as he had what was shaping up to be a really nice run going there, and a nice horse. The good news is
coming in next will be drawn number 27, number 1016.
That horse has got
Brian Bell on See Miss Lily, owned by George and Carol Bell, Raleigh, North Carolina. Brandon Brandt's on deck, Sean Flarida in the hole.
Now stick around for Brandon Batt and Sean Flarida, because if you don't think this is a home crowd.
Score of 0 on the last
wait till
ride
the Ohioans come out and show. This crowd at the Congress loves to back their hometown trainers.
It'll sound like a football field in here.
Mm-hmm. I'm always amazed at the consistency of Brian Bell, the way he's able to mark on so many different horses. It seems like, I always used to say, he's just showing the same horse over and over again, and he does ride a lot of his family's breeding, so there are some similarities, but does an amazing job on these 3-year-olds. That's one place where Brian in the last 10 years really upped his game. Was always a great open horse guy.
Right.
But he really understands the futurity process now and how to get these horses prepped.
He definitely does a good job, that's for sure. I think he's kind of backed off a little bit too, not expecting quite so much out of him all the time, and that's been to his advantage.
Mm-hmm. How much of that, when you're showing, Rocky, and it's a horse you know pretty well, do you decide how hard you're going to push that horse? Is that a decision you make every time in the show ring based on how they feel. And I guess different horses are different, but
yes, they, if one feels right, you can push it as hard as you want, and they're coming back to you. If the horse is a little on edge and you try to step it up a little bit, he isn't going to be there for you. So you can't continue to step it up if he's not staying with you. Like you can see Brian asked that horse for a little more there, and that thing just stayed locked in.
Yeah. And he has always had that ability to get those horses to fire in the turnaround. What do you think it is about his riding style that generates so much torque in those turns? Because he doesn't just spur them hard. I mean, it's just, he's just got that feel for that maneuver.
Well, one thing is his horses turn around forward. They don't suck back a whole lot when they turn. They turn around more forward, and I think a horse can turn faster when they go forward.
That's a great point. That's why you're the expert commentator, Rocky. That is why we have brought you on here. That is a great point. I know I've been excited about this, Rocky, because I know for the viewers at home, it's a great opportunity, and I hope I do a good enough job of kind of picking your brain because you've been through this so many times. You've had so many great horses, so many big wins here at the Congress, and you prepped so many horses of different ages. I'm really excited to get your input. It's fun for me.
Well, I'm excited to be here.
That's pretty big right there, wasn't it?
Circles weren't quite as good on this side as they were the left side, but the turnaround was much better. A little better cadence to the right turning.
It was, but that horse committed quickly to that turn. Like a lot of horses you'll see take a half a rotation to get up to speed. This horse took 2 steps and was
firing.
Was firing.
And never quit.
No, carried that cadence all the way through all 4 turns.
A lot of times when they fire that fast, they slow down. That horse never slowed down the whole time.
Think about, we were reminiscing about reining in the 70s and 80s this morning. And you think about now how the lead change is almost an afterthought. Like, you don't worry, is he going to get changed leads, and that's one area where rider skill level across the NRHA has really improved.
Oh, Ryan.
Trot step there. That's something the judges look at. If you want to trot out of a rollback, people say, what's the penalty for that? Well, up to 2 strides, it's a half-point penalty. Anything over 2 strides is a 2-point penalty, just like a break a gate is. And when I'm judging, you try to count those steps, but what I ask myself is, was it a big trot or a little trot? And I'll always give the riders benefit of the doubt on that, because I don't care who you are, it is tough to count those steps when a horse comes out of a rollback and trots. So
it happens fast.
Nice ride there.
Now that horse didn't get to his stops as clean as I would like him to, but stopped big every time.
Once again, you're watching the All-American Quarter Horse Congress. Level 4 open reining Futurity with Steve Ross and Rocky Dare. Our current leader.
Coming in now, draw number 28, number 6005, Brandon Brandt with Gunalida, owned by Cynthia Teal of Dublin, Ohio. Sean Flaherty is on deck. Kyle
We're in Ohio now.
In the hole.
And I've felt for the last couple of years that Brandon Brandt's one of those guys that's just on the cusp of breaking through at these major events. He's had plenty of big wins, don't get me wrong.
Is this the horse he won Virginia on?
Well, no, I don't know. I wasn't there.
I think it is.
You said he was really good there.
Yes.
This is Gunalida. It's a Gunatrasha. Out of the mare Spookalida. Hence the name, Gunalida.
Pretty fancy.
definitely credit earning circles, and I felt like that horse locked into that small slow the farther he went.
Yes. Little, I don't know what you want to call it, but yes, not much better. Nice turn.
Nice, and I felt like, Rocky, a little more high degree of difficulty turn, and that he did a lot less prep work.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He moved his hand to the left, and that horse saluted and did 4 spins to the left.
I like to see that. I like the horse to stand there and just start. Shouldn't have to do a lot of preparation to get it started in that turnaround.
Well, and that's one thing we see more and more with the evolution of the sport. As the degree of difficulty gets raised, and these riders just keep always looking for a place they can maybe steal a half point or something here. I like how straight that horse stayed when he transitioned down into that small slow. What's the key to really getting those horses not to lean left or right when you decelerate like that, Rocky?
You know, I don't know what the big answer is. I'm not a big fan of the hip in when they slow down. I think that's...
It overcomplicates it.
I think it does. I mean, I know it keeps them in from falling out of lead all the time, but I prefer a horse do it like that did. That one did. A little early shut off there.
He's still very much in a position to win this reining, though. What happens on the back half of this pattern, though, will tell the tale. But he's done what's needed through the first half anyway. Well, and I feel like it'll probably take 74s or a 222 to win this. I don't think many of these guys are going to ask for much more than that this time of year. But somebody will probably be that to win it.
Yeah.
That was beautiful right there.
They are actually showing, don't want to say they're conservative, but they're not. This isn't what you'd see in Oklahoma as far as finals go.
Right. Well, now that is a beautiful rundown.
With a beautiful stop.
Yeah. But you talked about it earlier, how important that approach to that stop is. But to me, the way that horse turned that corner, ears up, and just lengthened, willingly ran forward. He didn't have to. You know, we talk about how it's good when they willingly come back to you, but in a reining horse, you want that willing acceleration too. The judges are going to want to look at that. The rule book says if you go over 45 degrees, if you deviate from the pattern over 45 degrees anywhere, you're off pattern. So that's going to be something they're really going to have to take a look at there. I hope he held it enough to stay on pattern, because what they'll do is they'll deduct from that maneuver score if he stayed on pattern.
If he stayed on pattern, yeah. It'll be a minus maneuver, but still give him a chance to win a little money.
What a nice horse. Earmark that one for your betting cards in Oklahoma City.
Coming in next, draw number 29, number 7903. Sean Florida with Shiner on My Eye, owned by Robert Santagata of Campbell Hall, New York. Kyle Shaw's on deck, then we drag. Score for Brandon Brandt will be held for video review.
And sometimes I get a little bogged down with the reviews, but I think on a horse like that, it's great. Because the NRHA and the Judges Committee wants to give a score to every horse. So if it's borderline, they're going to review it, and they're going to make sure before they just eliminate somebody.
Yes.
And I love that they're in the business of trying to give scores instead of trying to eliminate riders. Here's the hometown favorite now, the legend himself. Was able to pick up the victory in the first go-round. They had the primetime division. He was 218.5 there. So Sean's already picked up the win and a pretty good paycheck on Shiner on My Eye. But I Sean has bigger aspirations than the prime time.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
All right, it's the hardest we've seen anybody run their circles. Wouldn't you
Yes,
say,
it is.
Rocky?
Yes.
I think Sean is a guy that always knows these 3-year-olds' limits. That's pretty right there.
He's had a lot of success with them. That was big time.
A lot of turn there, may catch him for a half-point overturn penalty, but the physicality cannot be denied. That horse cranked it.
This is pulling a little bit through the middle there.
Don't think the judges will mind that much because we asked that horse to come over. He didn't say no to him, but you're right. It's not as difficult as a horse that you never have to move their hand off their neck.
Right. Just kind of probably keeps it to a half from a 1.
Agreed. And that's so much of judging anymore, those little tiny things, because these horses, especially in these major aged event finals, are operating at such a high level. It's those little bitty things that will separate it. And you know, when you see a horse win a reining 225 to 224 and a half, that's a half point on one of the 5 judges, you know, that separated him. So that shows you how close it really is.
Yes. Another big set of turns there, too.
Yeah, that I thought was his best maneuver so far.
Sean's trying to win a prize tonight.
Yes, he is.
But Sean always tries to win a prize.
Now he's slightly competitive. Got another horse coming up here later on, but right now he's getting all he wants from Shiner on My Eye. Big effort there, propped a little bit in front.
Yes.
Take away from his score a little bit, depending on to the degree the judge felt like that influenced that maneuver evaluation. But sure solid on the rundown and to the stop.
A little hesitation here on the rollback. Not bad.
Do you school your rollbacks at the end of a stop much, or do you do it in a different drill? Because I feel like one reason people are a little hesitant to school it is because the horse runs down there and stops 30 feet. You want to sit and let them kind of reinforce it.
I do it both. I mean, I work on it a lot, backing up and rolling back. But you have to do it out of a stop to get them to do it.
Right. The hometown crowd likes it. We'll see what the judges thought. One more to go in this section. That'll be Kyle Shaw coming up next.
Coming in next, draw number 30, number 4765. Kyle Shaw with SHR Starlight Mobster, owned by Robert Santagata, Campbell Hall, New York. The drag after this ride.
And you were telling me Kyle Shaw's a trainer there along with Matt Palmer.
Yep.
For Robert Santagata, who also has some great harness horses.
The new score to beat with a 223. 223 on that ride for Sean Florida.
Where are your 222s, beat?
Yeah, I was wrong again. But that's been the most aggressive run so far.
Yes.
You know, that's been the only run that was push throughout the entire run.
Yes.
And, you know, we'll nitpick it a little bit, but he pretty much stuck every maneuver.
Right.
Kyle Shaw may be a name that's new to some of our viewers, but Rocky, you were telling me, really an effective trainer, does a great job.
Does a great job, and I've seen him show this horse a couple times, and it's a pretty nice horse.
Oh, I love the HF mobsters because they're so willing.
This one's really pretty too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're gorgeous horses. This one's exceptionally pretty.
Nice turnaround.
Mm-hmm.
Not as big a stout as some of the other ones, but definitely getting the job done.
Yeah, a couple of those last horses we've seen are really big, mature, physical 3-year-olds. This one's more typical, what you'll see one look like at this age, but as you said, sure getting the job done.
Trouble taking his lead departure there. Had a big turn though.
Yeah. Saved it though.
Yeah.
That horse was just thinking, hey, we circled to the right before, we're going to the right again, right? And that's what 3-year-olds do.
That's it.
A little trouble getting in position there, wouldn't you say? And that's
Yes.
what cost him a late lead change. That's to be a 1-point penalty adjudged. But Rocky, ideally when you come into that figure 8, how do you want to position yourself? He came in at a pretty sharp angle, and that made it tough for him. You want to come in flatter?
I think you need to be a little flatter, yes.
Mm-hmm. So it's more of a change of direction, but it gives the horse that straighter 2 or 3 strides there where they can position.
Yes.
And what looked like happened there is he just, as he came on that angle, he just had a little trouble getting that horse picked up and clearing that shoulder, and then it
kind of locked in that circle a little too much and just wasn't thinking about going the other way. As much as you don't want them to think, they do need to think a little bit on their own.
right.
It's quite a fine line.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I think the first few times you show a horse, I mean, they don't really know where they're going and what they're doing, and they have to know a little bit about where they're going on their own. Not to the anticipation part.
But just to the point that they're with you.
Right,
Like,
yes.
There's no surprises to them. That's a great point. What a stopper.
Yes.
Well, we have seen 10. We have 15 more to go.
Been a good group of horses so far.
It certainly has. Sean Flaherty and Shiner on my eye took the lead here with a 2:23.5 in that section. He put himself in great position to win this. I'd have to ask Sean how many times he's won this Congress Futurity, but I'd say,
I couldn't begin to tell you.
yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say more than anyone else, because I can't think of anyone that's dominated this particular event the way
Time
he
to
has.
drag, and after the drag, we'll need Tom McCutchen up, Benjamin Beckett on deck, and Kade McCutchen in the hole.
And just been given word, unfortunately, that the score for Brandon Brandt and Gunnelida was a 0. I suspected that, as it looked pretty conclusively like Gunnelida had turned over 45 degrees to the wrong direction on the rollback. So that is a very, very good horse and rider team that will leave here with empty pockets tonight, but one I'm sure we're going to see again, Rocky.
Oh yeah. He's got another one in here, I'm sure.
Thanks for joining us. You're listening to Steve Ross and Rocky Dare, bringing you all the action from the All-American Quarter Horse Congress Level 4 Reining Futurity Finals. 10 down, 15 to go in what is a very good 25-horse finals. Going to be seeing Tom McCutchen and Gunner's Lucky Star here first after this drag. It's by his reference stallion, Gunner's Special Night. The judges are getting in place now. Once again, our judges for tonight, Rick Weaver, Donnie Bricker, and Salmon Anderman. Terry Thompson and Van Loose. So very, very qualified panel of judges tonight. In this section, we will see Tom McCutchen on Gunner's Lucky Star, Benjamin Beckett.
We're ready to resume now with draw number 31, Tom McCutchen.
Kade McCutchen with
number
Varsity
7213
Blue.
on Gunner's Lucky Star, owned by Roxanne Kepsel of Aubrey, Texas. Benjamin Beckett is on deck, Kade McCutchen in the hole.
And Franco Bertolani on Done It for Hermes, and Cole Price on Finals Bound, one I know I'm excited to see. That one a Gunna Trasha out of the great Wimpy's Little Chick. Always excited to see what Wimpy's Little Chick has to offer. Any argument she's the greatest mare ever, Rocky?
No doubt about it.
Prove me wrong.
I can't. Speaking of mare power, here's one from Hollywood Done It. I mean, he was the leader forever. I mean, there's been a lot of them.
A lot of great Done It mares, you're right.
A lot of great Done It mares.
And Tom has done a great job working with his clients to build that great broodmare band. That's what's, you know, like Loomis did it, you know, you just, when you're not sure you can go get horses, you make your own. And that breeding program there that they put together is, you know, it keeps a lot of people in the finals.
Yes, it does. Makes it nice when you can go out to the field and pick one rather than have to go shop for it.
Yeah, especially now. They're starting to get expensive.
Yes.
You heard that?
No. Well, nowadays, guys get a good one. They don't want to let it go anymore.
No, I always say it's, you know, people are like, well, I can't buy any 3-year-olds. And I'm like, well, nobody wants to get rid of their starting quarterback.
No.
You know, when you do find one now, with as much money as up in these Futurities and Derbies, the hard part's finding one. When you get it, you're going to be a little hesitant to let it go.
Yes.
You're just joining us. Our leader is Sean Flaherty, winner of the Prime Time on gorgeous son of Shiner's Voodoo Doctor.
Tom's having a nice go here again. Oh, I like that. Oop. Not quite a trot, but almost.
Loved how he slowed down, though.
Yes. Could have had a little more turnaround.
You ever seen that bit Tom rides in? Because it's the same one for every horse. I don't know, it's like my high school history teacher that had 5 of those blue shirts, or just one he washed every day. But Tom loves that bit.
I got a horse show and the judges will say, you riding anything else?
Now, are you still the Billy Allen man?
No, not
Used
anymore.
You had more different Billy Allen mouthpieces than anybody I knew. You were famous for your collection of Billy Allen different shank lengths. What did you like about those bits so much?
They worked.
End of story. Perfect answer. That worked.
That really worked. But you can see how good that horse got to its stop.
Mm-hmm. If you ever watch Tom school, you'll understand that. Like, he's really particular about how he schools those horses stopping, and he allows them to be really, really correct.
Yes.
And they're this is nothing different at the horse show, maybe even a little less than they are asked to do at home. And that's why you see those horses so confident in their maneuvers. They really understand what's expected out of them. But he takes it to the next level, Rocky. You were talking about this earlier today. They're not rider dependent to get to that stop. They're so well schooled that Tom can get out of their way now and let them go do what he's asking them to do.
And that's your goal when you're training one, is make them think about it to where they do it almost on their own.
Right.
Yes, you are telling them what to do, but they have to know their job.
Tom likes it. What a gorgeous horse.
Mm-hmm. Not enough to take the lead, though. I don't think.
Oh, you're speculating now, huh? All right.
Ready now for draw number 32, number 1771. Benjamin Beckett was Spended on My Lashes.
Another Ohio guy.
Owned by Gary Ollie of
Another
Howell,
Ohio guy.
Michigan. Kade McCutchen's on
trainer.
deck. Franco Bertolani in the hole.
Does a great job currently training out of the Jackson's place there in Michigan. I know they're more than happy to
214
have
and a
him.
half on the last ride. 214 and 1/2.
Ben's dad used to show years ago.
I met Ben when he was an apprentice there at Extra Quarter Horses in Oklahoma and was just so impressed with him. He worked with your nephew, Trevor, right?
Yes, that's up, right? Ben's dad used to show back in the 80s and 90s.
There's so much history here in the state of Ohio, but at the Congress in particular in this sport. People that are new to the sport don't really realize that this is where it all started.
They
I
don't.
mean, there is no NRHA without the Ohio Quarter Horse Association and the Congress, and
Yes.
you know, there's some real visionary people that put the first Futurity together, and you know, doing anything the first time, nobody knew anything.
No.
They just did it though.
Right.
And it's, you know, when you see where our sport is today with our Futurity going to pay $350,000, we've got another reining that just paid $500,000 to win. We see yearlings selling for high six-figure prices now. And the thing I like about that, you know, people talk about that a lot. There's still plenty of people playing with the $20,000, $25,000 horse on the weekends. I know we sell them all the time. There is still plenty of room at the grassroots to get in and do this economically. Don't let those high prices scare you out of the sport.
Right.
There's still plenty of nice horses in a small budget that you can have a ton of fun on doing this game.
Ben's getting showed here pretty good. And he's also eligible for the level 3.
Right now our current leader is Josiane Gauthier with a 216. I haven't checked back here in the level 4 to see if any level 3 riders had bested her, but she had the high score in the level 3 section prior to this.
I don't think so far. I think she's still leading. But Ben's working on it. You know, they think that the draw parties was an invention of drawing your own number out of a hat to see where you went.
Right.
Years ago, when it started way back then, that's how we used to do it.
You drew it out of a hat?
Drew it out of a hat.
Who's got the hat?
Everybody got together and you drew your name out, your number out.
I have a feeling the parties were better then, too. A little more raucous.
Wow.
Those pale-faced fillies are so gritty. This is another pale-face done it. A beautiful little mare, but check out the grit. Too much stop there.
Yep.
I was a victim of just too much stop. I mean, she committed so deep.
hard.
The ground just wouldn't hold her. You know, that's the thing. It's funny, Rock. Maybe you could talk about it. As our horses have gotten to stop so much harder and our ground's gotten so much better, do you think you're going to ever see them toughen the ground up a little bit? I mean, maybe make the just a little deeper?
No, I just think it's a matter of them learning to get in the ground.
Right, stay balanced.
Yeah, they gotta balance themselves. She just got in so hard and so fast that she just lost it.
Right, and that's just a 3-year-old.
Right, but they got to learn as they go to run down there and stop and balance themselves. And that just probably is going to take a little more time.
Coming in now, draw 33, number 3911, Kade McCutchen with Varsity Blue, owned by Clark Reining Horses of Catlettsburg, Kentucky. Franco Bertolani's on deck, Cole Price in the hole.
Second time we've seen Kade McCutchen tonight.
Scored 212.5 on the last ride.
Well, showing up the score a little, you think Kate's going to run at it?
Okay to run at it. I mean, this is a horse by a horse, Wimpy Chick, that stands there at Alpha Quarter Horses in Purcell, Oklahoma, that we were talking about earlier today. Really starting to sire some nice horses.
Another big, stout, pretty one.
Gabriel Diano had such a great show career on that horse, and he's doing a great job of developing and raising those babies out of Wimpy Chick too. And it's really good to see those horses finding their way to the pay window consistently now.
Always helps to stay when you got really good mares to breed too.
Yeah, and they have that part of the equation.
Oh, that's pretty.
All right, I think he stayed with the leader so far.
Yes, he did.
Matched him circling anyway. Think this one can turn, Rocky?
Just a little. A lot of style turning too.
Also want to point out, in reference to the scores, this is a 7-maneuver pattern. A lot of times when you'll see pattern 10 at the reining Futurity, it's an 8-maneuver pattern. So the scores on this pattern won't be as high just because there's one less maneuver for the judges to mark.
I think this has 8.
This is 5, right? Oh yeah, I forgot the figure 8.
Yeah.
Never mind. Shut up, Steve. Go back to sleep. This is why we bring a guy like Rocky in, because he knows what he's talking about.
Sometimes. Oh.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Yeah. This thing has never left him one bit.
No. He's got to feel good leaving the middle.
Yes, he does.
You know, and you pointed out, you said he's never left him one bit, but I noticed how little Cade's hands moved.
Well, that's because the horse is paying attention.
Right.
Makes it easier to show when they're listening and not thinking ahead of you. I like the way he has to kick it.
Mm-hmm. Haven't seen this horse show yet, but he just screams big stopper the way he goes around.
Yes. Oh, he just fell out of the lead.
Well, that's going to hurt. Well, the stopping's no problem for him, but it looks like he just got a little distracted over there and just kind of cut out, and just, it wasn't like he slipped out of lead. It's just like, oh, I'm going to step over here to maintain my balance once again. Something 3-year-olds will do. A lot of things for him to see here.
didn't stand the ground there. Oop, and another trot.
It's a shame because this first half of this pattern was probably to win it, but you gotta close the deal, and
that's why we have the whole pattern.
Yeah, just that's what's tough. There's so many nice horses, and this is clearly a really good one, but it's got to all work in order. Got to be disappointed, but
yep,
it's one we'll see next month or in December in Oklahoma City.
No, I'm sure. Another Clark reining horse back to back.
Rick's put
Coming
together
in
a
now,
nice
draw
stable
number
this year.
34, Franco Bertolani on Done It for Hermes, owned by Clark Reining Horses, Catlettsburg, Kentucky. Cole Price is on deck.
This has done it for Hermes without the H. But I'm really excited. This is one of the first Done It for Whiskeys I've seen Franco show, and I love that horse.
Yes, he was a very nice horse. Very physical. Franco will go for it.
This is draw 34, number 8759.
He will go for it, but I feel like he's dialed it back a little bit in spots just because the degree difficulty, sometimes the risk didn't equal the reward, and Franco's obviously a smart showman, $1 million rider, and he's figured out more where he can push and where he needs to. They just dial it back a little bit.
I actually think that they have dialed their circles back just a little bit. I think they've realized that they're running their horses out of air by the end of the pattern. Plus, when you run them that hard, you're asking for trouble.
Got a lead, out of lead problem there for a half circle. That'll be 2 points to judge. You're right, and I think the other thing that the riders realized is it's not worth it to run that hard in the circles when really, are you going to get a half or a one? At the most a +1 probably, but then at the expense of, as you said, having a horse that's out of air to go stop. They get reaching when they're out of air. That's when they drag leads and make mistakes. So
then they get running that hard in them circles, and they get the pushing and sliding, and the ground might give away to them and lose a lead. And if you back off just a half a notch, they stay a little more contained and have a little more air at the end, and don't take that risk of falling out lead as much.
that's a great point.
I have some good ones once in a while.
Well, you do, but if you think about it, you compare the speed of the circles now to 5-10 years ago either. They're not running as hard as they were in their circles. And same trouble he had on the left side there. That's a tough break.
That's a hard thing to do, is get them to slow down that fast without falling out of lead like that. Some of them are just, when they hit the ground that hard, when they try to come back that fast, it's just natural for them to fall out of lead.
Turnaround's no problem.
Very, yes. Turns around like he's daddy. Franco's backing off a little bit now, kind of saving his horse a little bit.
Playing it smart. He knows those 2 lead change penalties he picked up will preclude him winning anything here tonight, but he also knows a lot of horse shows left. This is just the beginning of these horses' careers, so the wise move here is to do just what Franco's doing, build some confidence, go ahead and show.
Right.
But there's no point burning tread off your tires now.
Exactly.
Excited to see this next horse. We talked about finals bound with Cole Price by Gunna Trash out of the Great Mare Wimpy's Little Chick.
Futurity champion, by a Futurity champion, out of a Futurity champion. And hadn't she had full brothers or sister win the Futurity already?
She had Art Gonna Be a Big Star won it. She had suddenly drawn a blank on the horse Andrea won it on last year by Gunner out of that same mare. I'm sure 38 people will text me and tell me. But yeah, that mare has answered everything that's ever been asked of her as a show horse, as a brood mare. You know, just like her sire Wimpy did. You
Yes.
know, that horse was good to everybody throughout his career and still is.
No, they never showed him after a 3-year-old.
But I mean, as a show horse, as a breeding horse,
yes.
like everything that horse was ever asked to do, because there was talk he wouldn't be a breeding horse, you know.
Oh, yeah.
He's just a show horse. Well, he silenced those critics. The first year he had her,
Yes.
and RC Fancy Step. And just the sweetest horse to be around.
Yes.
You've been around him. Down
Ready
there.
now for draw 35, number 1027. Cole Price on finals
What a
bound.
decision not to show
Owned
him
by
anymore after
Jeremy
3-year-old, after
Michael
winning all that
Elbert
stuff that
of
he won.
Fargo, North
It
Dakota.
was probably a smart decision.
Will drag after this
You know, I wish
ride
we
and
could
be
have got
ready
to see
for
him
Matt
more for
Palmer,
selfish reasons. but
Peter
that 3-year-old
DeFreitas,
year he
and
had,
Brian Bell.
unbelievable.
Score will be held for this ride for
He
review.
won both the Congress and the Futurity.
He did, easily. But he got beaten Virginia. Do you know by whom?
No, I didn't.
Tom McCutchen, but I can't remember the horse because Tom came up and asked me, you know the only horse to beat Wimpy's Old Step? And I said, no, but I'm sure it was one of yours.
Because he reminded you.
Yeah. The tradition. That's what they called
The
that show
tradition,
that
yep.
year. Yeah.
That was it.
I'll just never forget him in the second go at the Futurity when the alarm or the speakers or whatever it was that happened there. I remember it created all that noise. And it was just a horrible reverb through all the
Right.
speakers. That horse never flicked an ear. He just kept going
going.
along. It's this one's maternal grandsire we're talking about. I'm curious to see the judges' cards if they'll take him for a little trot into that lead departure there. It was subtle, but
Yeah.
some judges are much more sticklers about that. Some will say, well, he was just walking into it, which is allowed. But any trot step on a transition up or down is a 2-point penalty.
Right.
Well, that would actually be a half-point penalty if you trot into it, just the same as in a rollback. Up to 2 strides is not considered a break of gait, but half a point per judge is a 1.5 off your aggregate score. It can really add up.
Didn't come back quite as good as probably should have in this slow circle, but got better as he went. A bit of an overturn.
Bit of an overturn, but a lot of turn
Lot of
there.
turn.
And I'm sure Cole knows he's got a really nice horse, and you know, you just don't want to overshow one this early in its career, do you, Rocky?
Well, you don't want to overshow one. Plus, you know you've got a horse that's capable of winning, and you don't want to make a mistake yourself.
Right. This one looks a lot like the mother compared to a lot of the other ones. You can still really
Yeah.
see the resemblance.
She was a little finer like this horse is.
Mhm. But so physical.
Much better this side.
This one listens, doesn't she?
Yes, she does.
That was pretty.
Yes.
All bets are off. That was the horse's name Andrea wanted on last year. Thank you to whoever lives in the 818 that let me know that.
Nice figure 8.
See, I can remember the Futurity winner from 1974, but not 2020. That's too hard. That was pretty. A lot of commitment there. Really
Nice
came
roll
up
back.
over her withers.
See how committed that horse was to the run and how good that stop was.
Yeah, there was full commitment on the run, and then there was full commitment when it went to the ground.
Yes.
Look, Cole gets these horses so broke. That thing almost did a pivot while it was loping to get squared up.
Nice run. Have to see how the judges liked.
We'll find this score, and then we'll take a drag, come back. 2 more sections remain. Matt Palmer, Pete DeFreitas, Brian Bell, Barbara Bouchard, and Jake
Time
Ballard,
to drag.
who we'll see in this next set.
After the drag, we'll be ready for draw 36. Matt Palmer with Peter DeFreitas on deck. Brian Bell in the hole. And a score of 219 on that ride.
Somewhere behind the athlete you've become, the early mornings, late nights, the coaches who have pushed you.
This will be draw number 36, number 7279. Matt Palmer with Undeniable, owned by Brian Novella, Nottingham,
It gets ain't colder up
Pennsylvania. Peter DeFreitas is on
It
deck,
gets
Brian
colder
Bell
up here.
in the hole.
Hey, Steve Ross and Rocky Dare back with you right in the middle of the finals of the All-American Quarter Horse Congress, Level 4 Futurity Finals. Currently our leader is Sean Flerda, no surprise there, with a 2:23 1/2. Sean showing Shiner on My Eye. He won the prime time in the first go on that horse for riders over 50, is it?
Yes. I think they need to come up with a Masters now.
I think they've already done that.
Not in the pros.
It's Matt Palmer, his second entry tonight. This is Undeniable, a smart and shiny out of a gunner mare.
Getting along good so far.
Yeah, just beautiful circles. Pretty pure set of circles for
Yes,
a
it was.
3-year-old.
Good turn. Good steady half.
You know, reposition Undeniable's body a little bit for that lead departure there, which he does. You know, I get asked of that a lot. Is it a problem for the judges if those horses walk forward a few steps? You know, no, it's not. And I think Matt really did the smart thing, because you could see we had a great angle. That horse's hip was kind of lined off to the left, his left. And that's going to put that horse out of position. But he just let it walk a couple strides till it straightened up, instead of trying to mechanic the horse's body around, which I think is a much better decision from a judge's point of view.
Yes. Matt got 2 lucky draws. First one after the drag.
Right.
Both horses.
A little more tentative in that set of turnarounds than he was the first way.
Yes. A little more level. The first way than he was the second way. But they're all better one way than the other way. It's having a good go.
Beautiful weather here in Columbus this week. But they've got it cold in this Coliseum tonight, Rocky, at least where we are way up here in this press box. Horse skipped a little bit.
Didn't commit quite as much, quite as good as he should have first. Yeah, I think we're right under the air vents.
It's fun walking around the Congress grounds with you today, just kind of reminiscing. I have not been here since 1992. The year after they had built the Celeste Center, and then a lot of changes here at this fairgrounds, but still hallowed ground really for reiners. There's so much history here, and I just loved walking around and kind of getting the feel for it again.
They've made it a lot nicer to be here. The new barn out there with 1,000 stalls and washrooms, and that's been put up within the last probably 5 years.
And it's nice.
Yes. Covered pen to ride in all the time, and it's easy to get to the Coliseum now.
Yeah, I used to have to drop breadcrumbs to get my way back to the stall.
Coming in now, draw number 37,
And it used to
Peter
be later,
Freitas with
so it was a lot
Dust-Off
colder.
Guns, owned by the Double Run Farm of
Yeah, I'd
Leland,
forgotten about
North
that it
Carolina.
was later in the month of October.
Brian Bell will be
traditionally. Now
on
it's-
deck. Barbara Bouchard in the hole.
A couple weeks can make a lot of difference this time of year here in the upper Midwest.
Oh yeah, it was originally when we used to show in the Futurity, it was always the end of October.
211 on the last ride. 211. This is draw number 37, number 2713, Peter DeFreitas. Brian Bell's on deck, Barbara Bouchard in the hole.
Peter showing Dust Off Ya Guns, which is a gun of trash out of the good mare One Mighty Aphrodite. Speaking of Wimpy's Little Step, owned by Double Run Farms. And if you don't know, Double Run Farms is who raised Wimpy's Little Step and where he got his great start.
Peter's having a good start here too. Gun of Trashes kind of have the same look about them. Which is true with a lot of horses, but a lot of times you can really pick out the Gun of Trashes.
You know, they have a look and they have a certain kind of way of going around.
Yes.
That seems to be really characteristic of them. I really like them. They're such talented horses, and obviously their results bear that out, but they are easy horses to ride and train for me. I really get along well with them. But Pete seems to be one of those guys that can train any type of nice horse. You mentioned earlier that he really likes the Conquistador Whizzes, and he has had a ton of success on them.
I've had people say before, what's your favorite breed? I'll tell him a good one.
Yeah. Snappy turnaround
Yes.
there. Well, even, you pick up tendencies on horses, but they're all such individuals, and there's so many different factors that go into getting a horse to this level. It's their ability, it's the training, it's the circumstances they came up in. If they had a 2-year-old and 3-year-old year that didn't involve any time off or accidents or injuries, everything really has to fall into place. And the good thing now is the Futurity is not the be-all, end-all for these reining horses. They can not even show when they're 3 and have incredible careers, and we see that more and more now. And I'm glad for that. I still love the 3-year-old division. I still love how many horses it gets trained. But it's really nice to see that there is not that rush to get there. If your horse isn't going to come up to it in time, you can just save it.
It's not the end of the world if your 3-year-old doesn't make it to the Futurity. Being able to show them things as a 4, 5, and 6, and 7-year-old now in the Derby has been a huge difference. He's having a nice go here.
Pete and dust off your guns. We're at 2:15.5 in the first go round. They're going to try and improve on that, and that doesn't hurt. It was a very committed stop.
I think he's getting a little more done tonight than he did in the first go.
He's been clean, penalty free, I believe, and he's been effective in all the maneuvers. We'll see what the judges think.
Coming in next, draw number 38, Brian Bell with Rough Steppin', owned by George and Carol Bell of Raleigh, North Carolina. Barbara Bouchard is on deck, Jacob Ballard in the hole, and will drag after the in the hole ride.
Second time we've seen Brian Bell tonight.
2:16 score for the last ride.
Josie Ann have a 16 or 16 and a half.
I believe she was a 2:16.
And that's a tie for the level 3.
Free reining. I'm always kind of curious, Rocky. Brian's one of the last guys that really, as they use it in hunter parlance, he kind of gets up in that 2 point in his large, fast circles and gets forward over that horse's shoulders. Do you like that, or do you prefer to kind of stay behind the motion a little more?
I like to lean up a little bit, but I like to sit in the saddle a little more.
Right. Brian stands over a horse more than
up.
he sits on one in his large, fast, but,
It works for him.
it works for him. I'm sure in your other passion, golf, you see some unorthodox swings that work.
I have one.
Okay. Well,
That's the thing about this is, there's all these different horse trainers training them different ways, different methods, all getting to the same end product. There's a lot of ways to train them.
do you think training a 3-year-old is more mental or physical?
For the trainer?
Yeah. Let me put it another way. Is it what you do or the way you do it that's more important?
I think you have to be very consistent.
Okay.
And be patient. I think if you get to pushing one too hard, too fast, you're going to blow them out and hurt them. But I think you have to stay very basic maneuvers and just do this repetition over and over. Because I think a horse learns from repetition. And if you can stay consistent, then they're going to learn it faster.
Well, I think that's right, and I think a lot of human athletic coaches would tell you the same thing, that when you get a horse in here under pressure, their muscle memory takes over. They may not be thinking, they may be worried about what's going on, but I think you bring up a great point. When you train with that kind of consistency, they go to what they know.
Yes. Because they have to be confident in their maneuvers, and if they're not confident in their maneuvers, you can't show them at this degree of difficulty. Brian's getting along really good here.
This is a beautiful run so far. Bush, there was a ton of body control on that lead change, didn't he?
Yes.
I mean, that horse was really off his leg, but really stayed in frame, didn't challenge his hand at all, really yielded nicely. It's one of those little things you don't really show up in the scorecard.
Oh, a little bit of trot there. Maybe, I guess. Yes, no.
If I'm sitting in that chair, I can't take it. I mean, it was really close. Like, I thought trot as soon as I saw it, but I'm one of those judges that has to have conclusive evidence, because I know, how hard it is to mark and how easy those scores can come down.
Big maneuver there.
Yeah, that was a huge move to the ground.
And good rollback.
Slip there now. Probably going to review that, but I think if
don't they have to touch their hip on the ground
for it to be a fall?
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, no, they're not going to consider that a fall. But the new rule is if the knees go to the ground, it's a 5-point penalty.
5-point penalty.
So they're going to. That's a major penalty.
Right.
So they're going to look at that, and that was just a slip. I mean, there's nothing you can do there.
Right. Almost looked like he stepped on his back foot backing up.
I think you're right. And that's what's so tough. I mean, you probably back that horse who knows how many times in practice, and it never happens, and you get under here and just one wrong step.
Draw 39 is next. Barbara Bouchard with number 5505, Wanna Flash Ya, owned by Martin Audette of Sorel Tracy, Quebec, Canada. Jacob Ballard up on deck.
Now they're going to trash
Jag after the on-deck ride. Score will be held for review for Brian Bell.
The second one we've seen for Barbara Bouchard here in the level 4 finals. Canada. Is it Canada or Canada? I think they pronounce it Canada. Yeah. I started to say Canadian and then tried to talk my way out.
They are Canadians.
Yes, they are.
But it's Canada.
And they're Canada well represented here tonight. How much, Rocky, do you change your program from prepping a 3-year-old to a Derby horse? Do you back off on maneuvers once you got them kind of like you want them and just work on conditioning more? Or how do you approach that? And I realize every horse is different, but we had a viewer write in and ask that question, what your difference in preparing the Derby and the Futurity horses was.
Yes, the Derby horses, as they get more solid in their maneuvers, you can back off of it and don't need to work at it as much.
Mm-hmm.
The 3-year-olds, you're always trying to get solid.
Right.
So you spend a lot of time doing the maneuvers over and over again. I mean, you have to be careful how you do it. I mean, right. I always like to, if I'm turning one day, I won't stop them. If I'm stopping, I normally won't turn them.
Okay, now I love that. You know, I've heard several trainers say that. Well, you know, when we get to a certain point, we don't do everything every day,
Right.
you know.
I don't think you can. I mean, physically, they can't take it.
That's a great point. I hope every young trainer's listening out there, because here's a guy, a Hall of Famer that's won everything he can win and kept a lot of horses going for years and years. So if Rocky says it, I would definitely pay heed. It's a nice run. Got a little out of sorts on that left turnaround. Picked up a penalty there, but, man, that's another horse.
Really circled nice.
Yeah.
Another penalty there.
Yeah, got turned really big and then just couldn't get it shut off. That's the tough thing with 3-year-olds. Their momentum sometimes will carry them through that shut off.
Yes.
That's what impressed me so much about All Bets Are Off, their NRHA Futurity champion from last year, how quick-footed he was in the shut-off. Because I saw that horse show several times when it looked like he was going to overturn. But he can stop his feet. You know, and obviously Andrea Fapani with incredible timing. But not every horse can do what that horse can do.
I think you can credit a lot of that to Andrea.
Well, and he gets him really broke to the neck rein, too.
Yes.
You know, I asked him about that. He doesn't use any kind of verbal cue to shut him off. I think it was his son Luca that told me that. I was asking him about it at Vegas because I noticed how accurate that horse was at a really high speed.
Yes. I work on mine a lot to stop in a turnaround.
And what's your cue for that? Do you say whoa? Because some people say never say whoa in the turnaround because now you're using one command to tell them to do two different things.
I say whoa to them.
Okay.
I'll say whoa to them, and I'll also block them with my hand. And I'll take one and I'll turn them and say whoa to them. If they take that extra step, I'll block them and turn them one direction the other way and then say whoa again.
And just let them find that center where they'll just shut down right square.
They'll get to where when you say whoa, they just like plan it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's part of a maneuver that people don't work on enough. And you should work on it more because you can lose so much because of it.
Well, you're not kidding. That's great.
I mean, you can work your ass off to get a half and then
give
turn
it all
around
back.
and then give it all back.
Yeah. That is really, people pay big money to go to clinics to find out that kind of stuff, Rocky. You keep it coming. Thank you. That is a great point, and I've never heard it put that way before.
Coming in now, draw number 40, number 9184, Jacob Ballard with Scotch Mist, owned by Jake and Leslie Ballard.
Jake Ballard's really a young trainer. You may not know, but he's really building a nice career. I judged him in Arkansas. First NRHA reining I ever judged, and he couldn't have been more than 6-7 years old. And he rode with the great Randy Cutbirth then. And, you know, they had to help him up on the horse, but man, he did a really nice job showing. Figured a lot of this out. Spent some time working with NRHA professional Cole Price a few years ago. Had a lot of success there. And this is a gorgeous horse by Magnum Chick Dream. That's no surprise. Not a Hollywood hottie.
It's getting along really good.
Mm-hmm. And you see, this is a good example of what we talk about of this horse almost actually looking to the outside of the circle when really he's just straight.
Right.
But from what we're so accustomed to seeing,
New style change coming.
and they only do that because it's effective, though. Don't you think? I mean, it's not.
Oh, yeah.
just, this is a different look I'm going to give them. It's just, I'm always fascinated by horse trainers and race car mechanics, how they'll lay awake at night figuring out how to get some tiny edge like that. And then as soon as you do, everybody copies it.
Everybody copies. I always said I don't care if it's the kid down the road that's got a good idea with his Shetland pony. If it's a good idea, I think it'll work, I'm going to steal it.
Exactly.
I spent a lot of time watching all these other horse trainers, just trying to figure out what I can do to make mine better. Go home and try it and see if it works.
Now, you obviously spent some time with the great Bob Anthony when you were younger. Anybody else that's really, you feel like, kind of influenced you, that you've gone to for questions, or just a riding style that you liked and so you kind of patterned yourself after that a little bit?
Never really went to anybody other than Bob.
Right.
But I watch everybody. And I pick up stuff a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Here in the past few years, Trevor's helped me tremendously to make my horses more modern.
Now we're talking about your nephew Trevor Deary, your brother Rusty's son. Just for the 2 people in the world that don't know that, I thought I'd throw that in there. That's interesting because you and Rusty had so much influence on Trevor as he was coming up, and for you to say now that he's helping you modernize your horses a little bit, that's a tribute to both of you.
Yes. I mean, I've helped him a bunch, but he's helped me a bunch too. It goes both ways. But my horses, I come from the old school. My horses always carry their heads a little higher. And if I wanted to stay competitive, I had to learn to get them down lower.
Frame them up a little bit, yep.
And he's probably one of the best at that.
You think that's because he rides with so much leg that he keeps those horses round and forward that causes him to stay in that frame? Because he's never very active with his hands.
His horses, whatever he does to them, they want to put their heads down. I mean,
just get round.
They get round. It's not anything that he does to them, but he rides them and he pulls on them and pushes on their bellies and turns them loose, and they put their heads down.
Yeah.
And they're very comfortable doing stuff like that.
See Jake Ballard checking over his right shoulder as soon as he came out of that rollback, looking for ground. He's last before the drag here, and you can see a lot of footprints in that arena. It looks like he's picked a path right down the middle. That was a nice maneuver.
That was a nice maneuver.
He stopped a little earlier than a lot of the riders have, but that's where he found ground. I mean, there was nothing left or right of where he went, and I thought, man, he's running right into all the choppy water. But
personally, I don't necessarily hunt for the good ground. I think if a horse runs down there and gets straight and commits, they're going to handle the ground.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I never look for it at home.
No.
Right. Just go stop.
And I think, personally, the more you look for it and try to get in certain spots, you're interfering with your ability to get that horse to that stop.
That's another great point. Well, 5 more to go. Our leader continues to be Sean Flerda and Shiner on My Eye. We'll see if that holds up with 2:23.5. 5 riders left to go. Casey Deary, Brandon Brandt with another one.
Time to drag, and after
Cassidy
the drag
Fox,
will
William
be
Bowen,
Casey
and
Deary
Sean Flerda on his
Brandon
final
Brandt
horse. So we'll see them right after this last drag. 20, there are 5 remaining here at the All-American Quarter Horse Congress in the Level 4 Open Reining Futurity. 5 remain. Currently our leader is Sean Flerda on Shiner on My Eye, owned by Bob Santagata. But Sean, oddly enough, the final draw here tonight. So he's the last horse we'll see in this section, and the last horse we will see in this Futurity on Alpha Jack Sparrow. Great name. First, after the drag, we're going to see the second time we'll see Casey Deary. This time he's riding a horse named 1030. It's a Gonna Trash Ya. Starlight Flynn and Brandon Brandt had a little tough luck earlier when his horse chose to roll back the wrong direction. I'm sure Brandon, who was a 220.5 on Starlight Flynn in the go-round, will be more than happy with another shot to redeem himself. Just waiting on our judges to get back in their chair. Our judges tonight, Chair 1 is Terry Thompson. Chair 2, Ann Salmon Anderman. Chair 3 is Van Loos. Chair 4 is Rick Weaver, and Chair 5 is Donnie Brickers, so a very qualified and distinguished panel. They always have great judges here at the Congress, and this is no different this year.
No, it's a job I don't want to do.
It's a tough job. It is a very difficult job. I admire all those folks that take the time and their expertise to help make these events so great, because you sit there and watch these horses and how close they are and try to separate them. And one thing we were talking about today, you know, people love to criticize judges just like they do umpires in baseball or anything, but our system in the NRHA is so good that, you know, what you and I were talking about at lunch today, Rocky, is you never hear anybody complaining we got the winner wrong at the Futurity or the fourth place horse should have won it.
Right.
I mean, sometimes there'll be a little discussion, but for the most part, everybody accepts the judge's decisions because they agree with them. You know, people understand the judging system well enough that they watch those finals and they see in the 5-judge system, I think it just shows how effective it is.
Well, with the throwing out the high and the low, I mean, you're throwing out the odd guys, and I don't want to call them odd guys, but I mean, you're throwing out the odd scores and keeping the medium scores.
Sure.
So I think the whole system works. They got it down where the penalties are the penalties.
And we're ready to resume now with draw number 41, number 7729. Casey Deary riding 1030, owned by Rancho L14 of Del Rio, Texas. Brandon Brandt's on deck, Cassidy Fox in the hole.
Second time we've seen Casey Deary tonight.
Reviewed score for draw 34, 193 and 1/2. 193 and a half for draw 34.
Casey was a 219 in the first go-round to put himself here in the finals. We'll see what 1030 is capable of here in the finals. Another beautiful horse, eh, Rock?
Yes, it is.
That's a good example. You were talking about how wide Casey comes in, and you can see with just the judges and scribe tracks how flat he hits the center of that arena. So, you know, I agree with you that pushing the hip to the inside is going to kind of go away.
Yes.
Because those horses that can stay straighter and balanced, you know, that was kind of put in as a fail-safe.
Right.
20 years ago, you know, but I think as the training has evolved and the horses have evolved, riders see that's not as necessary, and they'll just hold that leg there now.
Right. Really nice set of circles. Kind of wandered a little bit in the turnaround.
Just turned like a 3-year-old. You can see that horse, tons of turn. You know, it took him a rotation or two to kind of get established, but then he just got lost just a tiny bit, you know, and we're nitpicking here, but want to help you understand what the judges are going to reward and what they aren't.
Well, the judges are going to be pickier than we are.
Yeah, that's true. They're paid to be so.
Yes. Love the look of this horse in these circles. Just looks so free and easy for him.
It's willingly guided.
Yes. That was nice.
And I wish everybody could have an opportunity to go, like, see this guy riding on a day-to-day basis. I used to live near him there in Texas. Whenever I get a chance, I'd stop by Casey's barn. Not only is it the funnest barn ever, but he more than anybody else gets these horses trained without a lot of contact and a lot of time in their mouth.
Yes.
You know, he understands how to get these horses round and in position with his feet and with their body. He's not a guy that, you know, has to spend a lot of time using their mouth to sort of position them where he wants, and that's testament to the amount of feel he has, but it's also a great riding style that I'd like to see adapted more and more.
Yes, and I think you will. Every so often, every so many years, you see a style change, and I think we're in that period right now.
Well, and you know, guy like Casey that's obviously very successful, you know, the more successful riders are who will be the influential ones because people are always going to emulate what's winning.
Right. And I've seen a lot of style changes.
I imagine you have. The thing I remember about the reiners back in the 70s, you know, when I first sort of came around.
Wow.
Nothing wrong with that.
No.
Was the long toe that we left behind.
Yes.
And how it made those horses walk almost like a gaited horse. Remember how they'd have that head nod and sort of walk?
And lope so bad.
Right. Well, you didn't have to go there, Rocky, but yeah. And they weren't great lopers.
Another gorgeous stop.
It went a long way, too. Casey's always going to be right there in the middle of it. He's just so solid.
His horses just look so happy.
That's a great rundown right there.
Yes, it is.
I mean, he got to straight and accelerated quickly without rushing. That was a textbook rundown.
He let that horse accelerate on his own, and then he drove it at the end.
And he works on that a lot.
Yes.
Like coming around that end, get free, get straight. He spends more time doing that than he does stopping. There's a real lesson to be learned there.
I've always said that 99% of your stop is your run.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, you have to teach them to stop, and they have to know how to stop. But if you can't get there, you're not getting stopped.
The score will be held for review on that ride. And the reviewed score for draw 38
Probably
is
that first turn there,
205
the run,
and 1/2. 205 and a half.
Stop.
Reviewed
First
score
turn
for
down
draw
there.
38.
He did something funny,
Coming
but I
in
wasn't
now,
watching
draw
real close.
42. Number
Well, in order for it to go to review,
4885,
the
Brandt
minimum of one of the
Starlight
judges
Flynn,
has to take at least
by
a 2-point
Cynthia
penalty,
Teal,
2 or 5 point
Dublin,
penalty.
Ohio.
If it's not
Cassidy
unanimous,
Fox
then
is
it's an
on
automatic
deck.
review. So there was not agreement on that, but they do want to look at it again. But they don't. The judges aren't allowed to just arbitrarily review a run. It has to be disagreement on a 2 or 5 point penalty. Here's Brandon Brandt. He had some tough luck on his first run. Chance to redeem himself here. This time on another in-like Flynn. This is Starlight Flynn. Well, the in-like Flynn's have really shown up here this year in the Congress Futurity.
Yes, they have.
That's great to see. I love that horse.
Well, that was pretty fancy.
Yeah. Very balanced, small, slow circle, very cadenced. If you want to know what the judges are looking for, that's it. It's not the speed as much as they want to see balance and correctness of movement and that variation in size and speed.
Right. Kind of got a little weak there at the end of the turn. Didn't follow all the way through, but still a good turn.
I agree. I would have marked that turn. I see what you're saying, but obviously on these 3-year-olds, you're a little hesitant to add that one more leg.
Yes.
You know, because you don't want to send them through it or knock them out of position. They're just...
It's really getting circled. Very nice.
That is nice. You see how he went straight there so he could come into the center straight?
And the right side was as good as the left side.
Yeah, very good. This Ohio crowd really getting behind there. Fellow Ohioan.
That was a nice set of turns, too.
I like that better than the first. I mean, obviously we don't comparison judge, but
right.
If you had to pick one of the two, I'd say the circles to the right and the turns probably, well, both set of circles were good, but I liked what he did on the right side slightly better.
Yes. really good figure 8.
Do you try to run your figure 8s the same speed you run your large fast, or how do you gauge that?
I like to keep it the same, yes. Pretty good stop and roll back there.
Good approach, went long down the pin. That one will make a good picture.
That was a really good stop. Horse did change leads coming down the side, but was still very straight and running really good.
Yeah, it surprised me. Usually when you see a horse change leads, go into a stop, and there's no penalty for that, but it indicates that horse is leaning one way or the other. And that horse, he did change leads, but he ran straight as a string.
That horse is probably just more comfortable on that side.
Yeah, because that was his best maneuver there, I think, in the left lead when he stopped. What do you think, Rocky?
I think he's close.
I think I'm glad we're up here and we don't have to decide.
I don't have to make that decision.
Nice run, though.
Very
He's
nice
got to be
run.
happy.
He's going to be right up there in the top somewhere, if not the top.
Coming in now, draw 43, Cassidy Fox with West Coast Shooting, owned by David McBurney of Halo, Iowa.
And I guess we'll wait for Brandon's score. This is a great story here. This horse raised by David McBurney, owns the mother, and has raised several nice ones out of her, but I know he's especially excited to have one in the open finals here at the Congress out of West Coast Wendy. Really, really nice daughter of West Coast Wiz, and he's had success breeding her to several different stallions, but really liking this Gunzar for shooting out of her.
Yeah, I can see why. Wow, that was pretty. Getting circled really good.
Really nicely.
That's the one thing I don't like about that really long rein.
Tells on you if things start to leak a little bit, and that's what happened to Cassidy there. You know, and it's I'm not picking on him. It's just it's not necessary because, you know, it's just showmanship. But as you pointed out, when you got to go make an adjustment, then you're a long way away from the control panel.
Yes.
And, you know, from a judge's point of view, I look at it, are they on contact or not? If they're not on contact, I don't care if it's 2 inches or 6 inches of slack.
225 for Brandon.
I'm being told now. Do you want to say it?
225 for Brandon Brandt.
Thank you, Rocky. So we have a new leader.
Yes, we do.
Now, Sean Flaherty doesn't know that yet, and he's up in 2 horses. That's now moved him to the place he hates to be more than anywhere, and that's second. So we'll see if he's able to answer on Alpha Jack Sparrow coming up in 2 horses. But in the meantime, Cassidy Fox and West Coast Shooting, a little stumble there.
Yep.
But putting together a nice ride for David McBurney. I know David's would be so proud. That was such a good mare for him, and she's been a consistent producer, and that's extra rewarding when you can raise those show horses. Oh, this is such a nice horse.
It really is. That was a nice stop, too. Just had a couple spots that were a little bad luck, that's all.
Yeah, and you know, people always want me to evaluate horses based on scores. What does they score? This is a great example of, you know, this horse is going to do well. He's in the finals. He's going to score well, but his score isn't going to indicate how talented he really is. You know, there's a lot more there. And you said a little bad luck, a little bit of being a 3-year-old, you know, but no big mistakes, but a horse that's really hooked up and trying to do its job and really showing a lot of physicality.
When you put it out on the line like this, there's a lot of times things are going to happen that aren't supposed to happen. That's why you get a winner in second, and third, and fourth.
That's why that horse really backed
up nice.
That was the best backup we've seen all night.
Score on the previous ride for Brandon Brandt. The new score to beat, 225 on the previous ride for Brandon Brandt on Starlight Flynn, owned by Cynthia Teal.
This horse won the level 2.
Coming in now, draw 44, number 4528. William Bowen with Got a Rough Snapper, owned by Denise Hopkins Santagata, Middletown, New York. Sean Florida, our last entry on deck.
Bill's got a good business going up there in New York. He works for Denise and Steve Santagata, Bob's brother.
And they have the Gotta Rain Ranch.
The Gotta Rain Ranch, yes. Does a really good job.
Is that upstate New York? Or I'm not really familiar with New York.
It's New York.
Okay.
I don't know whether they consider that upstate or not.
All right.
I'm from New Jersey.
Yeah. It's a whole different thing.
Didn't start quite as good as probably should have, but finished really good.
You know, and every horse that's in here tonight, you know, I know some riders are going to be disappointed, but when you look back, making the level 4 finals at the Congress is a win.
Yes.
You know, all these horses that made it this far tonight through the go-around are successful, and that's something that's going to be on their show record for the rest of their life. And, you know, I know from kind of being more involved in the sales side, you get to say a horse was level 4 finalist at the Congress. That adds value. That's a prestigious placing. You know, it shows that horse can compete in some of the best company in the world. Now, I know they don't think that when they break gate or mark 208, but it's still.
But it's like we said before, it's not the end of the world after as a 3-year-old. I mean, there's way many horse shows to go to.
Nice set of turnarounds here.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it used to be that at the end of the 3-year-old year, you didn't have a whole lot to show for after that.
I'm being told now they're not upstate. They're in Orange County, which is where one of the original reignings took place.
Orange County, New York.
Thank you, Michelle. Michelle Dupuis from Reining for Funds like Garcia on Criminal Minds. This is incredible. She can pull information out. Since I started doing these webcasts years ago, she's supplied me with, filled in a lot of blanks for me.
How big the Orange County Fair was, Loomis used to come from Nebraska for a $2,000 reining.
That's pretty big. Wait, Loomis was in Nebraska? I'm kidding.
Boy, that was nice.
That was nice.
It's a level 3 rider also.
Yeah, we forget that here in the level 4 finals. You know, if you qualify for the 4 finals, even though if you're level 3 eligible, this is when you'll show. So there's a couple purses that Bill Bowen's running at here.
Little trot there. Still having a good pattern.
Mm-hmm.
I think at 218's leading the level 3.
I believe you're right. Pretty finish.
Yep. One more.
One more, and you would have to consider it a contender, the all-time leading money-earning rider at this point.
And I'm kind of sure he's going to be going for it.
Yeah, such a nice horse. Alpha Jack Sparrow, of course, raised by
Sparrow,
Alpha quarter
216
horses
and
there.
a half on that ride, 216 and 1/2.
Is
Coming in now, draw number 45, number 1790, Sean Florida with Alpha Jack Sparrow, owned by Fritz Lehman, Maslin, Ohio. This is draw number 45, number 1790.
Alpha Jack Sparrow's by Spook's Got a Whiz. Now to that great mare of Alpha quarter horses, Czechsonicky.
It's amazing how important the mare power is.
You look in these finals now, you'll really see that highlighted.
Yes.
You know, there's just. You know, I say if I had to build a business and you gave me one mare, one stud, I'd probably take the mare.
Yes.
Just because you can do more with her. If you have a great mare, it's so much more of a commodity. Yeah, you can't breed 200 mares like you can with a stallion, but this horse looks a lot like his sire, Spook's Got a Whiz.
Yes, he does. And Sean knows him pretty good, too.
Yeah. I don't know, the run Sean had on Spook's Got a Whiz to win the NRBC or the World Equestrian Games over there in France. I mean, you just pick one, but those were both just
phenomenal runs.
Phenomenal. I mean, I didn't see when he stumbled there in the middle, Rocky. Did you look like he broke gate or fell out of lead?
He did no break a gate or falling out of lead.
Stumbled a little bit.
That was big.
That was very big. A hometown crowd going to love that one. This one has all kinds of Ohio connections with Sean, owned by Fritz Lehman. Of course, Fritz Lehman Farms. I can't ever remember coming to a Congress when Fritz Lehman didn't have show horses here.
No.
You know, before the Rainers, they were great in the all-around, still involved. This is a big 3-year-old, too.
Yes, he is.
See how Sean almost loped a square there to get himself in position. You see what he did there? He kind of just went straight across there, then flat over here. But those small, slow circles are so tight. If you come in, as you pointed out earlier, at an angle, you're going to be out of position.
Whoop, whoop. Big turn, penalty.
Trying to win it. Yeah, that's probably a 1-point penalty because I could see that horse's side.
Yes.
You know, width of a shoulder or more is a half. After that, it's a 1-point penalty up to a quarter turn. You're off pattern if you go over a quarter turn. But that looked like a big overturn. So that's 3 points off his total score. But then, you know, they're probably going to go +1 on the turnaround, at least +half. Some judges won't +1 a maneuver when there's a penalty involved, and I get that.
Right.
To me, it's kind of how did the penalty come about? I know Brandon Brandt probably didn't shed a tear over it. This guy is just so incredibly hard to beat. Sitting in second right now. Looking pretty strong.
Whoa, that was big.
Cannot wait to see some of these horses in Oklahoma City. Just because I know how much they can change between now and then, how much they can mature, how much more solid they can become. And we saw some horses tonight that have an opportunity to do some huge things. What, did he just get a little lost in that rundown? Looked like he just lost contact right before he said whoa to it.
He just checked up a little bit before he said whoa.
Right.
And then that kind of took away from the stop.
Mm-hmm. Because he had to reestablish that momentum again and didn't have a lot of room left to do it. So that's, you just feel like you're in damage control a little bit there, try and save the maneuver. Boy, this horse is capable of doing freaky stuff though.
Horse just kind of loses its timing when it does that, and then just doesn't commit to the ground as good.
Well, with the bobbles, probably not enough to overtake the winner, but what a run.
Definitely a nice horse.
What a finals.
Yes, very good.
Hey, Rocky, I want to thank you for joining me for this. Look forward to working with you at the NRHA Futurity in a couple of months. That should be great. We got a little sneak peek at what some of the good horses we're going to get to see there are. Plus, we're going to get to see all the West Coast contingent that didn't make it here in the Midwest. It should be fun.
This has been fun tonight. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we're going to wait for the score to be read there, but I think we can go ahead.
Score of 220.
Well, I was about to do like
hang on
the news and project a winner. Right now, our leader.
In the meantime, while y'all are leaving, thanks so much for coming. We hope you have fun and join us again next time.
Hey, kind of like that score, Chet, but we'll get to it. Right now, our leader is Starlight Brandon Brandt. I will go ahead and project it with a couple little bobbles.
If you have a Dodge Dooley Ohio plates, Captain Jack, you need to move your vehicle.
Alpha Jack
Dodge
Sparrow
Dooley,
and Sean
Burgundy
Freitas probably
color,
didn't do
Ohio
enough to
tags,
overcome that
license
225
plate,
that's currently
CPN
in the lead. But
Jack,
Sean's going to take home
vehicle.
second and a victory in Shiner on My Eye.
Score of 222 and 1/2 on that ride for Sean Florida. 222 and 1/2.
Race.
Been
so
right
Sean
there.
Is an all-Ohio podium with Brandon Brandt getting the victory, Sean Flair second and third. So congratulations to everyone that made this happen. Thanks to Brian Morgan from National Sports Broadcasting for all their help putting on this great production. Especially I want to thank you, Rocky Dare, for sitting in with me. I know I appreciate all the insight and wisdom you bring to this. I look forward to hearing from you more. It was great.
I think it'll be fun in Oklahoma.
I can't wait. We'll see you there, and so long, everybody.
Bye.